The Old Pre-Meds Podcast, session number 49. You're a non-traditional student entering the medical field on your terms. You may have had some hiccups along the way, but now you're ready to change course and go back and serve others as a physician. This podcast is here to help answer your questions and help educate you on your non-traditional journey to becoming a physician. Now, welcome to the Old Pre-Meds Podcast. If this is your first time joining me or us, this is the podcast for you, the non-traditional pre-med student. But don't worry, if you're a traditional pre-med student, a lot of what we talk about is still relevant to you. Today's question, again, directly from the forums over at oldpremeds.org, is a true post-bacc student. And not a true post-bacc student, a true non-traditional student. And a student who didn't want to go into medicine until after she had graduated from college already. Let's talk about everything that he or she is doing. It says, like so many here, I decided to pursue a medical career after I graduated. I graduated from a public university with a very good standing. However, I didn't do so well with my freshman and junior year and ended up graduating with a 2.8 GPA with English, sociology, psychology, and Calc 1 prereqs for medical school to show for it. That was a year ago in 2015, and since then, I've been working full-time and part-time. Now they have decided to pursue medicine, and I will kind of paraphrase the rest. They got their CPR card and are looking into applying to post-bacc programs, but they're not sure that they have the academic potential to apply to post-bacc programs. It says, I want to try applying, however, in hopes that I can get a chance at any one of the good programs. However, I've been talking to people, and some have said that instead of going straight to a post-bacc pre-med program, I should instead go and get my master's, and once I have a degree, plus a good post-bacc GPA to use, I should then apply to a post-bacc pre-med program, and from there, medical school. I've weighed out the pros and cons to doing such a plan, and here's what I have. The pros: I have a master's or PhD, great potential there. I have a good academic standing, thus making me more competitive for applying to post-bacc programs. I intend on pursuing a master's or PhD in sociology or social work and get some research experience. Cons: paying for another degree plus post-bacc plus medical school is going to weigh heavy on the wallet. But there are loan forgiveness programs, fingers crossed they stick around or get better, and or a loan repayment program. Or I will win the lottery. I want to be in school for the fall 2017 term full time. Currently dedicating 2016-2017 to volunteering, and will take the GRE sometime in December. The only other option I've thought of is to take all the prereqs as a non-degree student at a 4-year university, but I'm not sure if that will give me a competitive post-grad GPA. All right, so one thing in here that I wanted to clarify. This student posted, I should instead go and get my master's, and once I have a degree plus a good post-bacc GPA to use, I should then apply to a post-bacc pre-med program. I wasn't quite sure what he or she meant by that statement. It sounded like they were saying that the master's was going to be a post-bacc GPA. Just remember, on your applications, your GPA is broken down a couple different ways. You have your undergraduate GPA, your post-bacc GPA, and your graduate GPA. And your post-bacc GPA, while it's listed separately, is counted as an undergrad GPA. So if you get a master's GPA, that's not affecting a post-bacc GPA, and it's not affecting your undergrad GPA. It's only affecting your graduate GPA. A post-bacc doesn't have to necessarily be a post-bacc specific program. A post-bacc is any undergrad classes that you are taking after you get your degree. So just that clarification there. So here's my recommendations. A master's degree, unless you really want a master's in whatever you're planning on studying, and this person talked about sociology or social work, unless you really want that education and that experience, a master's degree for the sake of boosting your GPA for medical schools and or for post-bacc programs is a waste of time. For this student, their GPA might not be competitive enough for formal post-bacc programs, and he or she will have to look around and use the AAMC post-bacc database and look for the career changer post-bacc programs and reach out to them and talk to them and say, here's where I'm at. Can I apply or not? Am I competitive enough or not to apply? Here's what I would do in this situation. I would take, and this student said it at the end, I would take the prereqs as a non-degree seeking undergrad student. Now, this student said, I'm not sure if that will give me a competitive post-grad GPA. So again, there's a lot of mixing up of post-grad GPA and post-bacc GPA. As a non-degree seeking student, those are post-bacc classes. So that will be your post-bacc GPA. The only difference between a formal post-bacc and a do-it-yourself post-bacc, that's what this would be as a non-degree seeking student taking the prereqs, the only difference typically is the level of support and the cost. Formal post-bacc programs are going to be expensive because they are kind of mini universities inside of a university dedicated to helping students like a career changer. And so they have the advising set up typically, and the professors set up sometimes separate and specifically for post-bacc programs. And so they're sustaining themselves by charging lots of money. And some students need that. And built into that usually is some shadowing experiences, some clinical experiences, preparation for the MCAT usually is included in that. So there are some benefits for a formal post-bacc program. But there's no difference between getting a 4.0 in a formal post-bacc program and getting a 4.0 in a do-it-yourself post-bacc program as a non-degree seeking student. There's no difference in how that GPA looks on your applications. It'll all be post-bacc GPA and will factor into your undergrad GPA. So if I were this student, I would, depending on my need for structure, I would go and take the prereqs as a non-degree seeking student at a 4-year university. It'll be a lot cheaper, and it all works out the same. You'll have to take the MCAT prep courses on your own. If you plan on taking a prep course, you can obviously study for the MCAT on your own. And really, there's no difference in how quote-unquote competitive your GPA will be. Do well as a non-degree seeking student, do well in a formal post-bacc. But the master's degree is a waste of time. All right. I hope that helped and helped clarify some thoughts for you and help you add to your pros and cons list. If you have a question that you want answered here on this podcast, go to oldpremeds.org, register for an account. It's quick and easy, and you'll be on your way. This student, this was his or her first post asking this question, so it's you can have your first post answered here on the podcast as well. As we're releasing this, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving here in the U.S. It is the end of November. We're all getting ready to sit down and eat some turkey and whatever else. I'm a vegan, so I haven't figured out what I'm eating yet, but it won't be turkey. But I hope you have a great time, safe travels if you are traveling. Keep motivated on your path as a non-traditional student. Everything that you're doing every day, all the hard work that you're putting in is paying off and will pay off once you put on that white coat. Just picture yourself in that white coat. It makes it all the more worth it. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week here at the Old Pre-Meds Podcast.